And this is why you don't put live plants in with these fish. Because if they do this to plastic ones, what are they going to do to live ones? I'm going to have to get them out. Hi, and welcome back to the herd wave, or welcome if you're new around here. So in today's video, what I thought I would do was what fish is in my 200-gallon tank. As some of you may or may not know, I have what I call a display tank in the fish room. I have that, which is it's a mixed species tank basically. I have certain other tanks that I will have species only, and then this one, my display one, some of them are one-off pieces where some of them are little boobs. But yeah, anyway, without further ado, let's get into it and I'll show you what is in my tank. As you know, I'm not afraid to talk about controversial subjects. I'll just dive right in there, get into the nitty-gritty of it. I don't mind sharing my opinion, and I certainly don't mind listening to other people's. It is one of the best things about the hobby is that everybody has an opinion on everything. So yeah, controversial topic, Mbunas mixed with peacocks and haps. What are my views on it? So although I do have one in my tank, Peaches, red zebra, there's a specific reason why he's in there. He is an older guy. He wouldn't last 5 minutes in with the rest of the Mbuna basically. The Mbuna tank, it just wouldn't happen. So he is in there. He is a bit of a bugger in his old age still, but they do keep him in his place because he's older. It kind of works. As from a dietary perspective, this is probably one of the main reasons why I wouldn't recommend keeping Mbunas in with peacocks and haps. They do have different dietary requirements. You can't deny the science behind it. Peacocks and haps tend to be more carnivorous. Obviously they are omnivores as well, but they are carnivorous. They do require a high level of protein, meat-based protein, whereas Mbuna, they need veggie protein. So here's where the controversial bit comes in. Some people will say I can keep them in together because I feed both. If you can say 100% that you know all of your more carnivorous fish are only eating high protein food and your Mbunas are only eating the vegetarian source, then great. If somehow you manage to come to some sort of a solution where that can be possible and you can know 100% that that's happening, that's brilliant, good on you. But for me that wouldn't work. Now Peaches, I know he consumes more protein than he should. You can tell by the way he looks. He is a little bit on the pudgy side. You can see it in his structure. He doesn't look like a more traditional Mbuna. But I don't have any issues with bloat of any sort. I suppose another controversial subject would be the discussion of Malawi bloat. Where does it come from? It's from some overfeeding, it's from feeding the wrong foods. Technically it's right and it's not right. It's not that the food's bad, it's just sometimes they can't digest it, and if they can't digest it, it leads to Malawi bloat, which is obviously a bacterial infection that comes out when your fishes are stressed or they have some sort of other internal issue going on there, or external sometimes. Something that's not quite right. It can sometimes bring out that bacterial infection that we know and love as Malawi bloat. So technically it is of feeding the wrong nutritional food. It's more like a symptom of the condition that they're in. I suppose that's probably the best way to describe it, is a symptom of the condition that the fish is actually in and the condition that it's causing the fish's body to be in. Now, it's sort of explaining that me personally, I wouldn't recommend keeping Mbunas and peacocks and haps in the same tank unless you have certain measures in place or there's a very specific reason why you do so, if that makes sense. Yeah, I just wanted to clear that up, get that out of the way, address the elephant in the room, that is Peaches. That's his name, by the way, Peaches. Before I continue to discuss what and who is in my tank. So, if you've made it this far, thank you. Keep watching to see what's in my tank. Okay, I'm just gonna have to bite the bullet and turn these air filters off. Okay, if in next week's video I don't have any fish in here, that is why. Because I forgot to turn the back on. Wish me luck. Okay. I'm gonna have to because the audio sounds not very good. Okay, let's just do this. Alright, so hopefully you can hear me a little bit better now. I've turned them off. Probably gonna start with one of my favourite fish in here. Is the star sapphires. Now I have 2 males and I have 1 female in here. And you can see him right at the top. And he's probably got the most chips so far. These little glittery pieces on, and they're normally called chips. And they're these beautiful blue and white colours on them, and it depends, it varies from fish to fish how many chips they'll actually have. It normally takes them about 3 years to get their chips. So this one here, he's around 7 months, so he's just starting to get them now. You normally start getting them around the 4-inch mark. And like you say, it varies from male fish to male fish how many chips they're going to have. Sometimes they just develop more, sometimes they'll be absolutely covered in them, and it'll just look like this beautiful glittery fish, like it's been sprinkled with those craft glitter things. And some of them won't have that many, it just depends on the fish itself. But like I say, they don't stop getting them until they're about 3 years anyway, so I'm confident that he's going to get quite a few more. And the same with my other male. So the males and females are slightly similar in colour when they're juveniles. It's only when the males start hitting about the 3-inch mark that they start to turn that lovely blue colour. So as for the females, you can see the difference between the males and the females, the colour differences between them, which is what you want to see. You want to see the differences in them. They don't get as large as what the males do. They normally stop around the 6-inch mark when they're fully grown. And although they are a blue colour, they don't get those lovely chips on there. Those lovely glittery pieces that the males get, which is a shame, because the girls don't get any of the nice bling bling, which it's not fair, just the males get them. But yeah, you can see my female. I'll try and tie her down. You can see she's the same sort of structure, but she is a lot smaller. They're generally quite peaceful cichlids, unless of course they're breeding, which is normally given with these types of fish. So just bear that in mind, that if you do have other males in your tank, they can become territorial when breeding. They are carnivores, so they do require a high protein diet. pH around 7.8 to 8.6. Temperature is around 26 to 28 degrees. I should really do Fahrenheit instead. So probably 78 to 82 degrees Fahrenheit, and hard acidic water they require. So you can see they do look a lot similar to the deep water haps, which is not unusual because they both are Plastochroma species. So that leads me nicely into my next group of fish, which is the Plastochromis electra, otherwise known as deep water haps. So I have 3 males in here and I have 1 female. Now the males generally grow up to about to be 8 inches. You can see the dark blue colour of them. These will be dark blue and they'll have a black underbelly on them, and then also have black lines on their dorsal fin, and they'll have sort of like a yellow tint on, you can see him up there. You can see the yellow tint on his dorsal fin and a little bit on his anal fin too. So they'll have those, and they'll have those lovely stripes down them. Beautiful fish. One-eyed Willie, he is a deep water hap. the infamous one-eyed Willie. Yes, he is in there, still doing great. Yeah, colouring up nicely, getting himself sorted. So there's 3 males in here and there is 1 female. So females a lot less colourful. You can see the difference in the females. She's right there. A lot smaller and a lot less colourful, but still beautiful, absolutely beautiful, stunning fish. You can see the blue in her as well, in her lines. And males and females both have that beautiful black band across their eyes, which just adds to the stunningness of these fish. Temperature, so around 24 to 28 degrees Celsius, or in Fahrenheit, 75 to about 81. So now moving on to my fry rye. They are electric blue haps, that's another name for them. I have 2 males and I have 1 female in here. So you can see the difference in the males to the females. You can definitely see the colour difference in them. We have the males, they're like an electric blue colour with just like a hint of white. That's what the males will look like. And you can see sort of like the bottom and the top of their fin will have this sort of like a yellowy tint to them as well. So you can definitely see the difference in them. As for the females, the 1 female I have in here, you can see the difference in her because she is, the structure of her is a lot similar to that of the males. You can see that they are the same species of fish. It's just basically colour difference because there's not a lot of difference in the size, I wouldn't say. In my opinion, in my experience, I've never noticed them to be much difference, other than colour, which is to be expected and which is normal. Yeah, so the females, they'll be sort of like it's really dark charcoaly. It's just really stunning colour of grey, and it'll have stripes down it as well, vertical stripes down it, and those are like a darker grey colour, which is it's such a contrast and looks so stunning. We're all moving about so fast. I'm trying to find her here. There she is. So traditionally they would have like sort of like the grey lines down them, but mine doesn't have that. She has the darker charcoal grey, and then underneath, under her belly, she has more like a silvery colour, which is absolutely stunning. Gorgeous, gorgeous fish. With your fry rye, you want to keep them with fish around the same sort of size. You don't want to be keeping them with smaller fish because they will prey on them. So pH probably around 8 to 8.5. Temperature is 77 to around 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So you can see the difference in the males and the females with a lot of the species in here. So your star sapphires, deep water haps, your fry rye, and the eye-biters. You can see the difference in the colours between the males and the females, which is natural. It's a natural thing that you want to see in your tank. You don't want your females to look like your males. That's defeating the object. If you want a tank to look like all male, then get males. Don't get females. There's a lot of these hormone replacements that you can put in your fish food, which brings out colours in them, unnatural, undigestible hormones that are put into some of these foods to make females look like males, to make them grow faster. But the long-term side effects can be detrimental to your fish. I did do a video, it was a North Fin video. I actually did a 2-part video. One of them I explained about the North Fin food, and I did a quick breakdown of all the natural ingredients that was in that and what that was used for. And then in part 2 I went into a lot more detail about the more nutrition behind it. Messing about with their colours is not something that you should enter into lightly. Research it, look into the long-term effects, look into what it does to your fish's digestive system, and look at what could actually be a side effect to you messing with that digestive system. I did go in a lot more detail about pigmentation, about the different colours that goes into it, reds especially. It's a larger pigment, it's harder for them to digest. Your blue pigmentation, I went through all of that in my North Fin video, so check that out. I think people might find it really useful, especially if it's something that you're looking at trying to get your fishes to colour up. There is natural methods to do that. don't use the quick fix. Don't use something that's gonna put your fish's health at risk. That is not good fish keeping. That's just my opinion on it. For people who are not used to learning about nutrition, what are you doing? He's doing it again. He's literally moving stuff again and chasing her, telling her to come down there to breed. Honestly. So you can see, there he is. He spattered out. Yeah. Yeah, so that's the male. That's my male. You can clearly see the difference between the male to the female, which he's chasing. She's a lot on the smaller side, and that female is chasing that female as well. Oh, this is what happens. They're a little bit shook up because I have turned the air filters off, so that might have something to do with it and the stagnation of the water. So I'm going to try and make this as brief as what I can. It's gyrating now. Bottom line, in my opinion, is if you want your fish to be brightly coloured and you want all of the good shocking bright colours of a tank and not the realistic look to a tank of having males and females in together, then I would suggest not using foods such as that. I would suggest using natural sources of colour pigmentation, like I discussed in the North Fin videos. Krill, salmon, natural sources, what they would naturally eat in the wild, what they naturally consume, which is good for them, which is nutritionally beneficial for them, without pumping all sorts of artificial pigmentations and hormones into your fish. That it's not fair on them. It's not right to do things like that. But bottom line is, males and females are not going to look the same in certain species. That is their natural characteristics. That is the beauty of the species. That is the beauty of fish, for them to look natural, the way they would naturally look, not trying to change them into looking females to look like males to make your tank look better. If you want a brightly stocked tank, then only buy males. Don't buy females trying to change them into males. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I'm not afraid to talk about controversial subjects, and obviously hormone replacement foods and pigmentation in foods is another controversial topic that you find in fish keeping. Lots of different opinions on it. Some people give good advice on it, and some people give very bad advice on it. What I would say was, please do not feed your fish this for health reasons. If you're looking to have a brightly stocked tank with different colour variations of fish, I would perhaps stop away from haps and peacocks, and I would maybe stick with Mbuna, because a lot of the Mbuna, the females, will look different to the males and have different colours. That way you can ensure that you're not damaging your fish's health for an aesthetically pleasing tank. I realise not everybody is as passionate about nutrition as perhaps I am, or other people in the hobby are, but at the end of the day it comes down to what is best for the fish and their well-being, and I think that is the most important thing above all when keeping fish. That's my point of view from it anyway. Didn't mean to go off on a tangent. So talking about my OBs in here. Now I have two OBs in here. They are both male and they are both hybrid. So the story behind those two, he doesn't look like a traditional OB, and there's a reason for that. So way back when, his dad Skittles, I'll put a picture up of Skittles so you can see him, definitely was the dad. No, 100% that. Because he was the only male that was actually in that tank. He was in with a bunch of females, so not entirely sure who their mum was. It's just one of those things that happened, that I just happened to come across two babies once, and with them being hybrids, a lot of people in the hobby would not want to keep them. They would say, well, they're hybrids and that's not what I'm interested in. But from my point of view, I didn't have the heart to do anything with them. It was a general mistake. It was my fault. I put the male in there and they bred, and nature didn't really take its course. They survived. So they're in the display tank. As you can see, they haven't gotten their spots like normal OBs do. So yeah, they are a hybrid, but let's face it, OBs are man-made anyway. That's the story with them two. They are in the display tank and they are swimming about happily, living their lives. Obviously I don't breed off them, so there's nothing to worry about on that front. So now moving on to my VC10, so Plastochromis Malomo, and I have 3 females in here. I don't have any males to show you at the moment, but yeah, the 3 females that are in here normally grow to be about 8 inches, and then the males tend to be a little bit larger, so around the 10-inch mark. They are peaceful fish, so in that case I would suggest keeping them with other haps and other Alanacara. You do not really want to be mixing them with Mbuna, because Mbunas are a little bit feisty, and it's not really that fair on these types of fish. They can stand their own, but let's not put them in a position like that if we don't have to. So my suggestion would be to just keep them with other haps and Alanacara, just to keep it simple, for a peaceful tank situation, I would say. So yeah, the males do get larger than the females. Absolutely stunning. Another fish that you can really see their scales on as well. I think you tend to find with more silvery fish that you can see that, and it just makes it pop. They're probably one of the biggest hap, so like width waves that you can get. They are quite a large bodied fish, males and females alike. As you can see, they are quite wide. Temperature wise, you could go possibly down to about 24, but 24 to 28, but I would obviously start around the 27 mark. So that would be about 73 to 8.2. pH wise, quite a wide variant here, so probably around 7.6 to 8.6. Obviously different researchers will say different things on different fish. Yeah, I just wanted to point out something. Sorry if the camera angle keeps changing. It's just I have to, with the air filters being turned off, I have to switch them on at certain intervals, so I have to keep the oxygen going, so I have to keep the surface water moving, so I do have to switch them on every now and then come back. So sorry if the camera angle keeps changing, but that is why when I turn them off I have to do it in stages, so sorry about that. So now moving on to another one of my favourite fish is the eye biters. Now I have 3 females in here and I have 2 males, one of which you have seen quite a lot of, and he's right there. He is the more dominant male. You can see him displaying it right now. He is probably your traditional eye biter colour wise, so he is this beautiful, you can see silvery undertones, but he is a metallic blue. He is still quite a young fish, so he is still developing his colours a little bit more, but you can see when the light hits him the stunningness of that metallic blue that's in there. And on his dorsal fin and his anal fin you can see the orange tints in there, just at the trace of them. That's absolutely gorgeous. He really is a stunning fish. Like I say, he is one of the more dominant fish in there. He's a smaller one of my females, so she's this beautiful silver colour, and which she has this darker stripe across her, so like it's like the way the females are, they'll have their silver colour and then they'll have like sort of like a dark grey to black line straight across the centre of them. So that's another way that you can distinguish from the males and the females sometimes when they're a little bit younger. They are hard to sex when they're juveniles, because they will be both silver in colour until they start to get a little bit older, but that's possibly one way of when they're younger to be able to tell if they're male or female, is you will see that line across them ever so slightly, and that's how I normally tell the difference when they're very small. And you can see in some of my juveniles, you can start to see the characteristics of, at a guess I could say which ones was male and which ones was going to be female, which ones are male and which ones are female. So you can see that. If I was to guess, if you're a gambling person, I would probably put money on that, because I've never been wrong yet sexing a fish when they're really young, so we'll see. Yeah, both males and females tend to be around the same size, about 10-11 inches. The males might get slightly larger than the females, but I mean same body structure, same length, same amazing predatorial long, should we say snout, call snout or a nose, whatever you want to call it. It is a snout, but the shape of their face, it's so long and pronounced and very predatorial. It's just one of those characteristics that is key to a predatorial fish. It's absolutely gorgeous, stunning. I am looking into getting some more rarer ones. Stay tuned for that, because that'll be pretty exciting. A little bit of a hint, I like the leopard print look, so watch this space for any of those. These are open water swimming fish, so they don't do very well in rocky situations. They're okay to a certain extent, but not like Mbunas whatsoever. Again, one of those fish I would not suggest keeping them with Mbuna. Various number of reasons, obviously what we've already discussed, but a main one for these ones again would be that Mbunas like rocky situations, where these are open water swimmers that like to free swim. That is their natural environment, so you need a substantially large tank for these. And remember that you should keep them in groups, so they do go quite large, so you are going to have to accommodate for that. If you do have a smaller tank, be prepared that you might need to upgrade. Like I always say, but upgrading a tank and getting a bigger tank is never a bad thing, so that's a fun experience. But yeah, one of my favorites, definitely. Moving on next to my Burundi pair. So these are my Burundi Frontosas. Now these two are a breeding pair, successful breeding pair. Have I showed you their babies before? I think I have showed you the babies, but yes, very successful. So they have bred in this tank for me, which is exciting. I was considering, I don't know whether you watched a couple of videos back when I was having the issue with my blue Zaire female Frontosa. I was considering options if I couldn't get her back in with the group. Check that video out to see what happened with that. I think you can probably guess, but if that didn't work out, then I was toying with the idea of popping that in here, but I'm so pleased that I didn't have to do that, because to be honest I really don't think it would have worked, because with them being two, like Frontosas, you can keep them in a group, and to be honest, you probably are best in a group, but like I say, there's exceptions to everything, and these two do really well as a pair. Adding another one into the mix, I don't think would be very successful. Even if I was to add another female, I don't think that would be the best idea. It's something that I'm not planning on trying, and thankfully I don't have to try. But you can see the difference between the males and the females. You can see size wise, most definitely he is a lot larger, and you can see the hump on his head. There is another name for it, which I'm not going to say. Let's keep this PG, or as PG as possible. So yeah, the hump on the male's head, it signifies the age of the fish and the sheer size and strength of the fish. So you can see in here he's quite a large specimen. Obviously not one of the largest ones that I have in Frontosa. I do have larger than this. He's probably around the 14-inch mark, I would say. And my female, I keep saying me. Apologies, apologies if you can't understand me. I keep saying me, and what I mean is my. My female is around 8 inches in there. You can see the colour difference. So with the Burundi, they are one of the more duller species of fish. They're not as brightly coloured as some of the other ones. So you can see the difference in these two if you compare them to other types of Frontosas. But still absolutely stunning fish. You can see the blue, and I would say it was more like a dark blue, like a navy blue, with the whitey cream stripes down the centre of them. My female, she's actually a little bit lighter than the male, where you can see her stripes, but she's always hiding. She's so shy. Beautiful, peaceful, really good community fish, but they can withhold their own, which is one of the best things about these ones. They are Lake Tanganyika, These are not wild caught, they are F1s, so I don't have to worry too much about pH in here. They sort of fit nicely in with the rest of them. But yeah, overall generally they are peaceful fish. Stunning addition to my tank, absolutely adore them. And the last fish that I want to talk about that is in my display tank is Peaches, the Mbuna. Yeah, like I explained earlier, there's a specific reason why he's in here. It isn't something that I would normally recommend to people to do, to mix Mbunas with haps and peacocks. Just my personal opinion. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, that just happens to be mine, but obviously each to their own. It's not. If you're looking for hardy fish, definitely choose Mbuna. They are one of the most hardiest fish. They are the more readily available fish. Generally, if you go to most fish stores, you will see a tank that sometimes they will be separated into Mbuna species, but more often than not they are just in a mixed Mbuna tank, or a mixed Malawi tank sometimes, and they're generally sold as Mbuna, being the price that they are generally sold around. Most of them tend to be tank bred, heavily tank bred generation after generation, so pH is not normally an issue. You could probably get away with something like 7.2 to 8.4. People normally stop down the lower end of that just because that's just the way that they generally start out with. But as a whole they're quite hardy, and pH is quite flexible. Obviously not to fluctuate, as with all of these fish that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about fluctuating pH, I'm talking about a standard pH. I'm just saying that whatever the pH that you sit at, the fish will generally, these types of fish will generally be okay with that. Temperature wise, probably something about 75 to 82 degrees Fahrenheit. Like I say, very spunky, very nippy little fish, generally stop around the smaller side. You do hear a lot of people giving advice to overstock the tank, especially with Mbunas and things like that. As with any types of these fish, the more you overstock the tank, the more that you need to do water changes, or the more water changes that is required. As long as you're not using any types of RO systems in there to filtrate your water, the iron levels that is in the water is going to naturally make them grow. So the larger the fish grow, the larger that your tank possibly could need. So if you have a small sided tank, so if you have say a 40 gallon tank, you get a few in there, you're advised to overstock to calm aggression issues. More water changes you need to do, more iron that's in the water, more the fish grow. It's a cycle. So with Mbuna, that's just one of the things that you need to remember. But as a whole, great little fish. I think a lot of people tend to start off with Mbunas. I know I did way back when I first started keeping, when I first moved on to African cichlids. But those are one of the ones that I did start off with. Again, probably with them being more readily available, and some people would say easier to keep. I don't know. I think an easy fish to keep is whatever you find is easy to keep. So where's Peaches? Peaches is over in the corner. He's not playing today. You're not playing. Peaches! I don't know why I'm shouting if I'm like he's a dog. Peaches! Come on. He'll probably follow my finger. He is following my finger. Come on. Thinks I'm feeding him. So you can see in his structure that he is a large fish. As a whole, aggressive wise in this tank, I wouldn't say that there's no aggression. I think every tank has its aggression issues to some extent. I think it would be a little bit of a white lie if you said that all of your fish get on 100% of the time, all the time. 100% of the time, all the time. But as a whole, there isn't that much aggression really, considering the types of fish that are in this tank. Some of them very predatorial fish, some of them very large fish. Throw in the Mbuna in there, you got a right mix going on. But these types of fish, they tend to get along fine. possibly because of the size of the tank, and it isn't particularly overstocked. I don't need to overstock it given the types of fish that are in here. And as always, if there is an issue, I do have backup tanks that I could change these fish into. So again, if you're considering stocking your tank with these types of fish, just also consider that there is other options that I can switch them out if needs be. So always do your research on the types of fish that you want to keep. That is also one of the things to consider as well. So I just thought I'd show you what I have in this display tank that I keep going on about, and why I have a display tank and why I call it the display tank. I just thought I'd share with you all the different types of fish that I keep in this. So that's it for another video. Hopefully you like this kind of content. Don't forget to like and subscribe, give it a thumbs up, all that jazz, and I will catch you on my next one. Bye. Because they are back crazy. I can certainly hear myself a little bit more better. A little bit more better. Good God, Leanne, honestly. So I am going to do what is in my 200 gallon. You can see my finger in the corner of the thing. Oh my God.